For a long time, I really only focused on making music from music. So I always had records that were made exclusively from little parts of other records. I wanted to try and see what would happen if you could make tracks entirely out of other tracks and that they could still be something completely new. It's why all my albums are called like Permutation and Bricolage and Super Modified. It's because they're all, you know, they're all about changing sound as opposed to creating sounds. Try some of the older ones. So I wanted to look a bit more into recordings and actually source recordings and trying to see how people did that. Try to learn more about what I do, because if what I do is sampling, then I think it's good to know a bit more than just one area. This whole album let me explore a lot more that I never knew about. I'd never touched a mic in 10 years of making music with samples. So it seemed like a really fresh thing to me, even though it's what people have been doing for decades.
Noisy fucking, because of the amps, you know.
And the thing about these mics is that they're very transparent. They don't color the sound at all. And that's why we recorded a lot in a FoleyRoom as well. It's kind of like an airtight little room with no character at all. It's completely dead. That left me the space to color the sound however I wanted afterwards. It's important to say as well that it's not meant to be a musique concrète album. It's not meant to be a concept record. It's just a curiosity, really. That's all it is. I'm not only using, for instance, field recordings, and I'm not only using sounds from records. I'm trying to take all the different elements of recorded sound and see what happens when you put them together. At first, we weren't going to use any musicians for the project. It was just going to be found sounds, machines, animals, nature. But the idea in the end was to use all of these things together and treat them in the same way. John is a sound scientist. He's working at McGill doing a doctorate on, I don't even understand, to be honest. But anyway, he's got access to this incredible studio where we were able to take in insects, and he had the mics that could pick up the noises of them, not just walking around, but squeaking at each other and doing all kinds of things we didn't see coming.
All right, I know. All right.
Yeah.
Machines and robotics were some of the first things I wanted to record because of their natural rhythmic properties. The movements were all quite regular and percussive to start with, so they lent themselves quite naturally to making beats and rhythms later on. At the safari, we got access to the night habitat of some of the animals. It was a chance to get really close to animals that would normally be way too far away to record in any detail. We all felt quite humbled being so close to these amazing creatures. We went out trying to see what else we could get from the rest of the park. From whatever we could find, really. I wasn't really sure what some of these animals would sound like if they made a noise, and a lot of them didn't make any noise at all. Not everything went the way we planned, and some of the animals didn't cooperate at all, which is fair enough, really. Sometimes we'd hear something amazing off in the distance, but by the time we got there, there was just nothing.
light is off, please keep your seatbelt fastened in case we experience unexpected rough air. If cabin pressure changes, the panels above your seat will open and oxygen masks will fall. Reach up and place the mask over your nose and mouth and tighten around your head using the elastic bands.
Id was the sound man during this whole project. We'd started talking about making a record based on found sounds about a year ago on tour, and it started out as something where we'd record maybe really small things like insects and try and make them into really big sounds, and it moved on from things like that, from motorbikes and engines, to using musicians as well, the idea being to use a musical instrument in a non-musical way. We went to San Francisco to record Kronos Quartet, who very kindly offered their services and were very cool actually. They allowed us to go down and record them in their studio, and I brought a few sounds with me to give them an idea of what I wanted to do. I'd mentioned before that this record was an opportunity for me to learn more about sampling, so I was very excited when GRM invited me to play at the birthplace of sampling in Paris. I got to play all these recordings for the first time at the same place where pioneers like Pierre Schiffer had first experimented with sampling techniques like tape looping.
Them first try,
Okay.
and if it doesn't fit, we can change it.
Okay, let's do that. That's
Because
good.
if you try track by track, it's gonna
Take forever.
Yeah,
It's-
9.
So there's 7. This isn't a track. So
Yeah,
just
that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. describe me your strict regime, please?
An hour or two of just moving the crossfade, just
Okay.
backwards and forwards, just like that.
Can you
Sometimes
do
I'll
it?
use my other hand.
Can you do it again? Yeah. Okay, cool.
The rare but deadly kind of, you know, I'll do that again. It's the swooping crane crossfade.
Okay.
And then I'll do the knob too, because when you're in front of a lot of people,
Yeah.
you have to look like you're really doing a lot. So I tend to go like this
Yeah.
a lot. Sometimes I'll sneak up on it. Like if you imagine the room's full over there, you know, I'll just sneak up on it. I'll just be like, when I go like this, like this, I'll be mixing, scratching and mixing. And
Yeah,
doing
you're
my,
so good at that.
my crossfader. And
Okay,
then I'll be like, and then I'll just, you know, this I learned from Paul Oakenfold.
From who?
Well, then you try and invent ways out of problems. For instance, sometimes you can be DJing, and you go to get your records, right? So you're DJing, and you go, and suddenly you're facing away. You go to get your record, and you're not facing, see the crowd. And then, I mean, what are you going to do? I don't know. You have to improvise.
Well, is that why now you play in the middle of a venue? I mean, when you do concerts, you play in the middle like that. You can do this on any side, and no.
I can do this in any direction in surround sound, and it doesn't matter. You know.
No. Is it more difficult for DJ than for for a plumber or?
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, everything's harder for a DJ. You know.
Yeah.
It's just the way. It's the life we choose. I mean, I'm in pain constantly, you know.
Yeah, you
I'm
pay for
constant.
it.
I'm inside. I'm a mess. It's turmoil.